Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Thanks for tuning in. Great to be with you. Glad you could stop by today. And we're here all the time for you. You know the routine. And today we'll have a new guest. Dr. Tom Sullivan will be my guest today all day. We'll bring him on in a little while. Met Dr. Sullivan last week, spent some time with him. I think you'll find him to be a pretty compelling fellow. And Dr. Sullivan's a chiropractor. And over the years, I've had chiropractors, alternative complementary physicians on my show. And we'll talk about that. Now, if you're a regular listener of Let's Talk Nutrition, you know that I'm not ideological and, how can I say, out on the perimeter when it comes to health, wellness, and well-being. I'm very open-minded and embrace ideas and different approaches, and I'm willing to listen. And, of course, this is an evidence-based show. It's evidence-based nutrition that we talk about, evidence-based medicine. And what I don't entertain are these I'm not a conspiracy theory type. I don't entertain that stuff. I stay away from it. And I don't trash allopathically trained physicians. I don't trash pharmaceutical companies. I've never done that. I'm never going to do that. There's no payoff in doing that. It's a waste of time, and that's not what this show's about. If we were to shut down all pharmaceutical companies today and all allopathically trained physicians, we'd be in a lot of trouble. Now, I know there are thousands of people who listen and watch this show, and I embrace it too. Alternative, complementary, integrative, I'll define what those terms mean, approaches to health, wellness, and well-being. and I embrace them as well and use them in my day-to-day life in whatever ways I can and talk about them on the show. And I do believe in chiropractic medicine for a lot of different reasons. So it would be good to talk with Dr. Sullivan. I think you'll find him to be, how can I put this, reasonable. I'm going to be good. Let me be candid. I've met chiropractic physicians that are, off the reservation, man. They need to be in therapy. I mean, they're just bad. I mean, yeah. And I've met allopathic physicians the same way. I'm not interested. It doesn't serve you or this show or the whole idea of giving people choices. It's not to say that you walk straight down the middle and don't have a point of view. It is to say that you show me the data. Show me what you're doing. Be reasonable. Even if what you're doing is unique and different from everybody else, if you can make a convincing argument, I'll listen. And you'll see that Dr. Sullivan has specific ideas about chiropractic and how it should be practiced and his approach. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on the show. I can tell you that. And I don't care what anybody would say. He wouldn't come in here. Because I have a responsibility to the audience to make sure that people that come into this station, into this studio, are going to share ideas that will serve you well in the end, even if you disagree with them. Sometimes those are the better ones. To listen to someone you don't agree with. Now, some of my friends and colleagues who are in the same business I am, who are talk show hosts, are very ideological about it. They won't have allopathically trained physicians on their show. Traditional medicine was conceived by Lucifer in their mind, and they go on and on. They get very political. We don't do that show. I'm not wired to do that show. I don't want to do that show. I'm interested in ideas. I'm interested in things that, in the end, can make a difference. And we look at different databases. There are the clinical trials, there are observational studies and experiments and whatnot, and then there's traditional use data, things we've learned from cultures over hundreds and even thousands of years There weren't any clinical trials, but we've learned a lot. And let me just make it clear. Nutrition is not an alternative therapy. And I was reading this morning, I believe it was either, I don't want to misspeak. I'll look during the break. Pretty reputable outfit. I'll tell you who it is. Discussing nutrition as an alternative therapy. It is not. Since when? Nutrition is not alternative or complementary. I don't look at it that way. That's a point of view. Now, some would disagree with that and consider it and describe it and promote it as such. I don't. So, just so we're clear, because I don't have very many alternative. Now, we have naturopathic physicians are on this show all the time. Dr. Michael Murray, and so on. There's a whole cavalcade of them that come through this studio on this air. They're on this air. And they're all, to a person, they're all very reputable and credentialed and went to, to med school, naturopathic medical schools that are licensed and credible and, not some online degree. So this is all by way of saying that don't misunderstand me having a chiropractor on the show, that somehow I'm out there on the perimeter. And there are 4 physicians that saved my life last year, and all allopathically trained. And I had more than a few people come up to me and say, well, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, you need to do natural alternative therapies. And I said, show me any clinical trial. There is no naturopathic cure for cancer. If you know one, you tell me and show me the clinical trial. You get my point of view? Now, you hear the seriousness in my tone, because I don't want you to misunderstand what's going on around here. Other than that, that's about as serious as I get on this topic, and I just trying to make clear the deck and make sure we understand what's going on here. And I was so impressed with Dr. Sullivan. Very humble, well trained, went to a good school, has a nice practice here in the Tampa Bay area. Been doing this a long time. Open-minded, comes from a good background, nothing pretentious about him. All of that more important to me than anything else, and then we go from there, right? And if you listen to the show, you know how important that is to me. And almost to a person, the people that come on this air are good people. And we do that by design. So I'm excited to have him on. I really was impressed with him as a person, first and foremost. It caught my attention. I spent better over an hour with him. And we just talked about stuff. Talked about his mom and his dad. Talked about my parents. Talked about where we grew up. And all of that. And it gave me an insight into him as a physician, as a chiropractic physician. I'm excited to have him on. We'll try to clean up a little bit of the terminology, the point of view about complementary, alternative, integrative. It gets so... there's a lot of conceptual confusion with it. We'll see if we can clean it up a little bit. And we always invite you to call the show, express your point of view. It's a listener-friendly show. Here's how you do that.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Nutrition, on Instagram at Let's Talk Nutrition, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Let's Talk Nutrition, 3 words, and you can see everything that's archived and closed captioned.
You are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition. We're coast to coast. We're global, and we embrace it all, open-minded as we can be.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce exclusively on Amazon.com.
And welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be doing. Let's go to St. Petersburg, Florida, and Joe has been holding in the wings. I don't like to let the listener wait like that. But Joe, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on today.
Hi, Doc. Yeah, you know that I worked real hard trying to lose all this weight.
Yes, you did.
And I've got down to quite a bit that I feel comfortable, feel good. But then the remarks that I get, oh, you're too skinny. Oh, are you sick? Oh, I'm feeling, oh, you need to put some weight on. You know, how do you deal with that?
Okay, so we have, how do you deal with that? Well, listen, You lost how many pounds?
About 45 pounds.
Okay.
40 to 50.
All right, so you have to understand that people have known you for a long time. Those have known you,
Right.
friends and family members, have seen you 45 pounds heavier. And that's how they know you to be. And typically people will associate extreme weight loss with illness. It's that's a valid assumption. It often happens, especially with cancer patients. And they associate that. They put those two things together. And probably to them, you look like you've been sick because you lost so much weight. And the best counter to that is for you to, as you called yesterday, to get back into shape, start exercising, and in time, you're going to put some of that weight back on. I'm pretty convinced of that. I don't know how much you will put back on, maybe 5, 10 pounds, I don't know. That's just the nature of how that works. And then, that'll all level out. And how you handle it is that you thank them for their concern. And you don't debate it, you don't argue about it, you don't get confrontational about it, or defensive, or otherwise defensive. Because then, you delegitimate the whole thing that you're trying to do. You lost the weight for health reasons. Now, one can debate on whether you should have lost that much weight that fast. That's a topic for another day. We've talked a little bit about that on the show. But you are where you are. You are where you are. And you have to be, if you're comfortable and your wife is comfortable and your physician is comfortable and you're healthy, your labs are good, your blood pressure is good, your state of mind, just live your life, man. If you worry about all that commentary and criticism, you're gonna go crazy. I mean,
people say to me, "Well, what did you do?" I didn't go on a diet. What I did was I changed my whole eating habits.
You're trying to change. You're trying to change your relationship with food. Is what you're trying to do.
Correct. Right. And
I've done
that, and I feel comfortable.
And you should feel comfortable, and you've laid the foundation for that, and you're still working through that. I can promise you that before this is all said and done, you'll make alterations to where you are now, and you'll adjust and you'll adapt, and you'll find a spot where you're going to be really comfortable and will serve you well. And you got to keep in mind why you lost all that weight. You felt that it was in your health interest to do that. You're what, 175 now?
Yeah, 175. In fact, this morning it was like 174.5.
Okay, so that's good. That's a good weight, given your height, given you're 75 years old.
I'm almost 6 foot. I'm almost 6 foot.
Yeah, you're good.
5 years old.
Yeah, you're good. Go back into the gym, put on some muscle.
Yeah, that's what I need to do.
Like we talked about, get some of the tongue back.
Great. That conversation was really super, Doc. It really helped me out.
Good.
I got a goal now. I know what I got to do. And
Sure.
In fact, I'm going to get a trainer.
Absolutely, you should. And you find somebody who understands what you're trying to accomplish, your goals. Somebody mature, not some hot rod trainer, somebody who's very experienced at this and well practiced at it and understands your goal and is accustomed to working with people that are a little deeper into the lifespan. You're not 25, you're 75. And that's reality. So go ahead.
Yeah. Doc, I just want to say I'm sorry that I missed you on Saturday.
Oh, that's okay.
I had a commitment, and I said, geez, I feel so bad that I wasn't there, but next time I will come.
Well, whatever you were doing, I hope you had fun.
I did. And the Chinese New Year.
Well, whatever. You just stick to your guns and keep reading, keep learning, keep thinking, use your critical thinking skills. And moderation. Be moderate and temperate.
And keep listening to the show. That's important.
Yeah, listen to Dr. Sullivan today. I think you'll find him. He may say some things that will enlighten you as well.
Okay.
You'll see. Right. He's very good. I like them a lot. We'll have him on here in a minute or two at the bottom of the hour.
Okay.
He's a chiropractor But he's interested in nutrition. He's interested in health, wellness, and well-being, and in a good way. So you'll see. You just stick with it.
All right.
Don't worry about all that stuff. You know, you just stick with your guns, man.
Hey, thank you so much for taking my call, Doc.
So it's
Have a great day.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, that often happens. He lost a lot of weight, and I saw him not long ago, and it's a dramatic change. You lose 45, 50 pounds, you look like a different person. It's a lot of weight. It's not that he was morbidly obese either, and he's 6 foot, and for 70, he's in great shape. He's 75 years old. You know, he's interested in his health. Isn't that interesting that I was talking with somebody the other day whose parents believe that she had lost too much weight, and they're from a culture where being heavy is viewed as being healthy. Interesting, right? I won't mention any particular ethnic group. I won't get in trouble. But, yeah, and the parents thought that she had lost too much weight and needed to put weight on because that's healthier to have all that weight on. People have strange ideas. Sometimes you wonder. You are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition. Dr. Tom Sullivan will be up. He's in the batter's box, and he's a good hitter.
I'm Joy McCarthy, holistic nutritionist, and I expect more from my multivitamin. I've researched many vitamins, and what's truly different about Every Woman's One Daily from New Chapter is that it's fermented with probiotics and whole foods and gentle even on an empty stomach. Every Woman's One Daily helps you feel good every day, giving you immune, energy, and stress support, and nutrients for bone and heart health. You will notice a difference. Every Woman's One Daily recently won the Best Multivitamin Award, and I love that it's non-GMO project verified. Discover the wisdom of nature with New Chapter.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Figure's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be doing. Dr. Tom Sullivan is my guest today. Dr. Sullivan is a chiropractor, been in practice for a long time. He had a big practice in Manhattan for a number of years, 15 plus years, and interesting experience up there. We'll get him to chat about that a little bit. Now lives in Florida. Cold weather runs everybody off sooner or later. As much as he loves Manhattan, and I do too, he now has his practice here in Tampa, Florida. I met Dr. Sullivan about a week ago or so, and as I said, had a wonderful conversation with him and wanted to bring him onto the show, introduce you to him. And, of course, you can call the show if you have questions for Dr. Sullivan, comments, your experience. Here's a number to do that.
877-897-8255. It's 877-897-8255.
Dr. Sullivan, welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. It's great to have you on. It's a real pleasure. Love having you in the studio today.
Good morning, Dr. Garko. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
That's our pleasure. You have a good background. You went to some good schools. You went to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore.
Indeed, yes.
And you went to Life University for your chiropractic training. You've been a chiropractor now how many years?
Oh, about 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time.
You're youthful looking, man.
Well, thank you. Too kind, too kind.
No, it's great. 20 years. 20 years ago, chiropractic, it's come a long way even in 20 years.
It has.
Give the audience a sense of, attitudes about chiropractic 20 years ago and where we are today.
Well, I think the basic premise is that people are realizing that chiropractic works. It's a sensible approach to handling musculoskeletal disorders, aches, pains, some stress on a minor level. And I think the public is really waking up to the fact that it simply works. It's very safe. It's a non-drug, non-surgically oriented healing art. Mm-hmm. And I think people are drawn to that.
Is it... there are three terms that are thrown around, used as synonyms, and they shouldn't be, and that is complementary, alternative, and integrative. If somebody uses, if a non-mainstream practice is used together with conventional medicine, that's called complementary.
Yes.
Right? And if a non-mainstream practice is used in place of a conventional approach, that's considered alternative. And then you have integrative, which is conventional and complementary together.
Yes.
How do you think?
Well, I think the third topic that you mentioned, the integrative, really is the best approach. Mm-hmm. The chiropractic is a wonderfully healing art, but let's face it, it's not going to make you walk on water. Mm-hmm. It's not good for serious medical conditions. For things such as that, obviously see your physician. But there's a whole slew of disorders that chiropractic can help with. Mm-hmm. Aches, pains, disorders from stress, that really has a wonderful result with.
We're going to talk about stress. Dr. Sullivan has some unique ideas about stress and chiropractic and how he has integrated those two concepts, those two ideas together. He'll talk about that a little later on. The main reason why people come, I know the answer to this, but I'll ask anyway. It's a softball pitch here. The main primary reason have you found that people come to a chiropractor?
I'd say that overwhelmingly the main reason that a person comes...
The P word?
To a chiropractor is for, yes, aches and pains.
Aches and pains.
I mean, that seems to be the bread and butter of what chiropractic is known for dealing with, and it works quite well. As people get older, you tend to develop the common neck pain, the low back pain, whether it's from years of poor posture sitting at your desk, whether it's from a new kind of condition, what they're calling text neck, which is if you look at people on their phones, their head is bent forward all day.
Yes.
When you add that up over weeks and months and years, it tends to lead to a biomechanical problem, a muscular imbalance, poor posture, some kind of ache or pain.
That leads me to the idea of the fundamental foundation, philosophical, medical, guiding principles of chiropractic as you understand them.
Well, the way I perceive and the way many chiropractors perceive chiropractic, first we believe that if you can exist biomechanically out of alignment, poor posture, areas of excessive tension, other areas of excessive weakness, you can do that much better if your body's in balance with less stress and greater strength. Biomechanically, structure affects function. If you alter the structure of a bridge, that bridge is not going to function as well. If you alter the structure of a bicycle wheel, it's not going to work properly. Your body's no different. In a sense, we're a machine. And when you deviate from normal balance biomechanically within your body, more times than not, we tend to find that it's related to a symptom, an ache or a pain. And that's what chiropractic mostly deals with. Biomechanical imbalances causing problems.
Biomechanical imbalances, and you use the phrase out of alignment.
Sure.
We often speak of cars as being out of alignment.
Well, it's a very great analogy for the spine and what a chiropractor deals with. Absolutely.
Explain me what you mean by out of alignment.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start with, there's a basic anatomy of the spine, 24 bones of the spine, going from the base of your skull down to your tailbone. And there's a certain balance that you should have.
Meaning?
Well, if you're looking at the spine from either the front or the rear, it should be straight up and down. Okay, any deviation from that can be called, depending on what level of misalignment, can be called a scoliosis. Many people have heard of a scoliosis.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a deviation from normal that could cause a problem. Also, when you're looking at the spine from the side, there actually should be 3 curves. A curve toward the front and the neck, a curve toward the rear and the mid-back, and then in the low back there should be a curve toward the front. And again, any deviation from that norm usually is associated with an ache or a complaint.
Why is the spine constructed that way? It looks like a zigzag.
That is an amazing and interesting question, and I get that all the time.
Why isn't it straight?
That's a great question. And the reason for that is curves, we're meant to be functional and move. In the infinite wisdom with which we were made, the bones of the spine protect one of the most important and delicate systems of the body, the spinal cord and the nervous system. Okay, so ideally you would think that it would be the most protective to have just a tube or a pipe.
Yeah,
that would be the most protective. But then you realize that you have to move. So we were designed with 24 segments of that spine to move and be flexible. Now, to answer your question, why we have curves, curves tend to be strong and functional. Again, if you look at the structure of a bridge, it's curved. It's curved because it's strong and functional. If you look at the arc of a road, it's curved. If you look at a dam holding back floodwaters, it's curved. It's strong, but it's functional and can be flexible when needed. I believe that's why we have 3 curves in the spine.
Yeah, nature, and it took evolution a while to figure that out.
In its infinite wisdom, we came up with the crowning glory.
So we selected to have a spine that was curved. We'll come back, we'll talk with Dr. I told you, you're liking this, right? I am.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce exclusively on Amazon.com.
nervous system consists of two basic parts here. Little anatomy lesson. You have the central nervous system and then the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, called the CNS, right, consists of nerves in the brain and the spinal cord. It turns out, if you're paying a little bit of attention to your body, your brain and your spinal cord are protected by what? The skull and the spine, bones. Okay? Structurally speaking. And because these tissues are very vulnerable. The brain is, the tissue, it's in that hard shell for a reason. And your spinal cord is in the spine for a reason and surrounded by bone for a reason. It's to protect it. Question becomes, what happens when the spinal cord structurally isn't what it should be? It's out of alignment, or it gets damaged, disc wear and bulging discs, and many of you know those issues because you suffer from them. That becomes problematic. Dr. Thomas Sullivan is my guest today, and we're discussing this a little bit. We'll take our time. He's here the whole day, so we'll just take our time. Dr. Sullivan, welcome back. This is intriguing. Now, I was saying to you during the break that it's astonishing to me that people can walk around with their vertebrae out of alignment, which is called a subluxation, yes, or blown discs, bulging discs, and all kinds of damage to the spine, and function. That's astonishing that they can do that. And they come to you and looking for relief, and usually back pain, lower back pain, and whatnot. In a word, when the vertebrae, the whole notion of subluxation, can you explain why that's so important to chiropractic?
Subluxation is an integral component of chiropractic. We feel that, by the way, subluxation is a misalignment of the spinal vertebra. Different professions call it different things: herniations, spinal stress lesions. Chiropractic, we tend to call it a subluxation. Misaligned joint or vertebra of the spine, putting pressure on the spinal nerve.
So these vertebrae,
they can misalign on a micro level.
Do they move? They move
slightly. Yes.
Slightly.
Yes.
And when it's misaligned, what happens? What happens when it's misaligned?
Well, what happens is when you understand, and just even if all you listeners maybe Google or take a look at some of the anatomy of the spine, what's within the spine and within those 24 spinal bones, again, is the cord and the nerves. So when each one or more of those bones or joints misalign, it can put pressure on a spinal nerve. We call it a pinch. Everyone's heard of a pinched nerve. Mm-hmm. Two good examples of people having a pinched nerve is maybe, did you ever have or wake up in the middle of the night with numbness and tingling down the arm because you maybe slept improperly?
Yes.
Well, it's coming from a pinched nerve of the lower neck. People have also reported having numbness and tingling down one of their legs. We call it sciatica. Well, that's a pinch of the nerve in the lumbar spine. So those are just two examples of what can occur when you have a spinal pinched nerve.
So the nerve is inside the spinal cord, right?
It starts coming off the spine. It emanates from that spine and travels to all parts of the body. Everything in the body is attached to the brain, first through the spinal cord and then through the spinal nerves. Okay, every part of your body is attached to your brain through those nerves. So it just makes sense that any kind of misalignment, putting pressure on the nervous system, can play a part in certain health challenges.
So, Gary, I found a image, and it shows it's this image here. Under images, I typed in subluxation, then I hit images, and that image came up. And it shows a subluxation. It's a nice illustration. And so when you're adjusting the patient, Dr. Sullivan, do you x-ray them?
Doc, that's a great question. If I could take you through the whole process of how it works,
please do.
I'll take soup to nuts. When a person comes to me, obviously it's a Hippocratic oath, of course, do no harm. So the job of a good chiropractor is to do a few things. One, you have a fiduciary bond, a trust to do right by that patient. So first you have to get to know that patient. Fill out a nice intake form. Tell me your history. Get to know that patient, see what they've been through, where they work. Then you do a proper examination. In other words, that's a consultation. You move on to a proper exam, a full chiropractic, orthopedic, neurological examination. Analyze the spine, any pertinent areas that may be of concern to the patient.
Do you palpate that? Do you touch and palpate?
Yes.
Otherwise touch them?
Yes, chiropractic examination. Use your hands, palpating that spine.
Can you feel, what do you look for when you're running your hands down the spine, your fingers down the spine?
Well, you're looking for an imbalance. It's a great question. In one instance, we'll use what's called static and motion palpation. We'll just take each joint, range of motion. We'll have you twist and turn your neck, maybe have you bend at the waist, while feeling that spine to see what's fixated, what's moving, what isn't moving, what area might be problematic.
And then the x-ray will show you...
Yes, we'll do then a proper orthopedic exam. Again, more ranges of motion, see where you're stuck, where you're fixated, where you're moving properly, a neurological exam. At that point, usually it's wise to take an x-ray. The x-ray is going to let us see and visualize that spine. And that's important because to see is to know and to not see is to guess. And seeing that spine really gives us an objective idea as to what's going on with that spine.
Do you find that usually your physical examination, when you were palpating the spine, you were feeling, will comport with what you see on the x-ray?
Usually there's a correlation. Sometimes there's not a correlation. In other words, that's the beauty of the x-ray. It can uncover things which you did not foresee.
You were not able to feel.
Yes, that is the beauty of a comprehensive exam, including x-rays.
And then you make an assessment of what to do next, right?
Exactly. And on the next visit, you have what's called the report of findings. What I do is I simply sit down with the patient, review all the positive findings from the chiropractic, orthopedic, neurological exam, show them and compare that to what's found on the x-ray. At that point, the doctor, the chiropractor, has a decision to make. Look, is this person a potential chiropractic patient? In other words, what they're complaining of, does that fall within the scope of what a chiropractor can treat? If it does, relay that to the patient. Maybe set up a game plan, something that's going to get them out of pain, make a spinal correction to the best of their body's ability, and hold that correction long enough to reduce the chances of that problem coming back again. If they're not a chiropractic case, obviously you have a responsibility to refer out to the proper discipline. There might be an orthopedic case, a neurological case, maybe a massage.
Okay. All right. We're going to continue this narrative. This is so important. As I said to you, Dr. Sullivan is very methodical, very patient, very systematic, and sensible about what he's doing. And then in the second part of the show, we'll talk about the adjustments and, trying to correct the subluxation, reducing pressure, and what all that may mean. I'm a little out of my depth here. I'm not a chiropractor. I'm just trying to use my brain here a little bit. We'll continue our conversation. You are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition, coast to coast and globally. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Great to be with you. Thanks for tuning in. Dr. Tom Sullivan is my guest today. Dr. Sullivan is a chiropractor. Having a wonderful conversation with him. Just introducing Dr. Sullivan and the whole idea of chiropractic. Don't want to assume. I know that many of you are familiar with chiropractic, probably have a chiropractor that you see and treats you. But we're just laid down some very basic principles about chiropractic, and we're at a point where we now have, he's done his intake on the patient, talked to the patient, examined the patient, done some neurological examination of the patient, physical examination of the patient, even maybe taking now an x-ray to check to see what he believes is going on with the patient. Is the patient a candidate for chiropractic?
Yes,
Is what the patient complaining about something that chiropractic can indeed treat? And if so, how and what ways? And for how long? And is there a particular way? Well, we're going to talk with Dr. Sullivan about his particular approach. He has some ideas about chiropractic. I might mention as a sidebar, and we'll get him to tell you the story, he was the chiropractor for the Jets, one of the chiropractors for the Jets, and the New York Jets for you football fans. And that's interesting. So we'll get into all of that. He had a practice in Manhattan, and when he and I were talking last week, he lived in Manhattan, had his practice in Manhattan. I could live in Manhattan with no problem. Love that city. And he and I were discussing that, the pulse and the pace of the city, and he moved to Florida. So now he's here in Tampa, and we're fortunate to be able to get him onto the show. We're going to bring him on again, too. We'll try to get him on periodically. I want to include this particular aspect of treatment into the show. Dr. Sullivan, welcome back. And you consider it to be a complementary therapy?
Yes, complementary and integrative.
Complementary and integrative. Complementary, if you... go ahead. I'll let you explain.
Well, I just simply feel that it works wonderfully side by side with...
traditional medicine?
Of course. It's a wonderful complement and integrative in conjunction with your medical care when done properly.
Mm-hmm. So, we now at a point where you have the patient, you've examined the patient, you have the x-ray, you did your physical exam, and the patient, let's just hypothetically, is subluxated. It's evident that they're subluxated, and maybe they even have some disc wear, in their cervical portion of their spine or in the lumbar region. And we're showing an image of a subluxation where the vertebrae are out of alignment. What does that mean, that the vertebrae is out of alignment? Like here we see that image.
Well, Doc, what it simply means is that bone relative the spinal vertebra in question relative the vertebra above and below, or both, is not moving properly. It's fixated. Might be slightly rotated to one side or the other. Okay. It also might be associated with a larger problem when looking at not just that one bone, but the region. In other words, it could be a part of a problem in the neck, for example, where you've lost the curve of the neck. So you might want to work to try to improve the curve of the neck while realigning that one specific joint.
You can reestablish the different curves in the spine.
It can be improved.
It can be improved.
When you're talking about working in conjunction with other modalities, stretching, some different postural corrections, some exercises in conjunction with chiropractic, yes, curves can be improved upon. Yeah, to what degree is situational? It's hard to say.
I got it. And we were talking I asked Dr. Sullivan why the spine is curved. If you missed that, everything is on demand at letstalknutrition.com. You can listen to the show there. You can watch the show, download it, whatever you want to do, no charge. So now you're going to adjust the patient. I'll give you a hypothetical. The patient has some disc wear, cervical disc wear, C4, C5, a little worn. The discs are worn. lumbar region, L4, L5 a little worn, and they're subluxated along the spine in different places. Now what do you do with that patient?
Okay, it's a good question, but it's somewhat of a difficult one to answer thoroughly. The reason for that is it's situational. You also, something that you didn't mention in that scenario is you have to take into account the age of the patient.
Okay. Middle-aged.
Middle-aged. So typically, the way a course of treatment might unfold would be that you would warm up or maybe loosen up some of the muscles with a modality, maybe some electrical muscle stimulation to loosen up some of the musculature, maybe some heat to loosen up, maybe a cold compress.
It's interesting.
Then you might progress to a little bit of stretching to loosen up the spine. When the doctor is at the point where he or she wants to give a chiropractic adjustment, there's a few ways to do that. There's manual adjusting, which is what I'm more drawn to, using my hands.
Hands-on.
Which, by the way, is the definition of chiropractic. Chiropractic comes from the Greek, and I believe the translation is by the hand only.
Right.
But there was been some wonderful advancements where there are some, for lack of a better word, instruments to introduce a gentle force into the spine to make the chiropractic adjustment as well. So it really is situational. Sometimes I'll use my hands, sometimes rarely, very rarely I'll use an instrument. And again, the goal of that is to work to reposition that joint into a more proper biomechanical position.
So in the neck, in the cervical portion of the spine, the upper portion, when you're adjusting that portion, usually I notice when I've been adjusted, the chiropractor has your head in his or her hands, right? And you're moving. How do you explain that?
Again, it's when I've been doing this for 20 years professionally, in school for another 4 to 8 years before that. And I often hear people telling me chiropractic stories. I've been to the chiropractor. This happened to me. That happened to me. I guess what I'm getting at is, arguably, there was 40, 50, maybe even 60 separate styles of chiropractic.
Wow.
So to answer your question, there's a few main styles of chiropractic. In other words, how to reposition that C4 or lumbar vertebra. But there's a whole myriad of techniques that can do it. Most people are, when they say chiropractic, most people are thinking of the manual. Colloquially, people say cracking my neck or popping my neck.
Yeah.
In other words, the chiropractor used their hands and made a crack or a pop, so to speak. Well, first off, we call it a specific chiropractic adjustment. Again, I understand people use the colloquial cracking my neck.
Yeah,
there is a manual technique, very, very gentle, and when applied with a proper full examination, extremely safe. But that's the most common.
What is that popping?
Adjustment.
Why is there a popping sound?
Doc, that's a great question, and I get that every day of my life in practice. Many people think, understandably, that when the adjustment is made, the specific chiropractic adjustment is made to the spine, that pop is bones clicking on other bones. In other words, it's a bone clicking on another bone.
That's not true, is it?
It's not true at all. They've done studies almost similarly to when you pop a knuckle. The joints specifically are pressurized by a capsule, almost a vacuum, if you will. So when you move one bone to a new position, something immediately has to fill the void of the space where that bone was just located. And they say that it's nitrogen bubbles rushing in to fill that temporary void.
Gas?
And those nitrogen bubbles are cracking and popping, forming that noise that we all
That's interesting.
hear.
So cracking your knuckles, good, bad?
I have not done extensive research into that topic, I have to say, but if I had a bet, I think that's an old wives' tale.
Okay. Just annoying then.
Annoying. Look, if you continually do it, I'm sure it could lead to some kind of what we call laxity or loosening of the ligaments.
And that's what I want to talk to you about.
So I'd recommend that you don't do it, but I think it's relatively benign.
We'll talk about that loosening of the ligaments, and that's some people raise that as an issue with chiropractic. We'll get Dr. Sullivan to explain that. 877-8. We're coast to coast, and we're global.
Women who are pregnant or planning to have a child have specific nutritional needs. Maintaining optimal nutritional intake is important for mother and baby. Body Vigor's Preferred Prenatal can help mother and baby receive the appropriate building blocks for growth, development, and healthy function. The Preferred Prenatal formula provides essential vitamins and minerals, along with added support ingredients such as folic acid and DHA. Preferred Prenatal also incorporates a bonus herbal blend to help the mom-to-be with the uncomfortable side effects of pregnancy, like nausea, vomiting, mood swings, and uterine health. Support a healthy pregnancy for you and your baby with Preferred Prenatal, exclusively on Amazon.com.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Dr. Thomas Sullivan is my guest today. Dr. Sullivan is a chiropractor. It's a wonderful opportunity to introduce this particular therapy into the conversation on health, wellness, and well-being. Don't have many opportunities to do that. I have a lot of naturopaths that come onto the show, and over the years, chiropractors have made appearances on the show. The plan is to have Dr. Sullivan come on from time to time and talk about chiropractic. And there's a lot of studies. The science surrounding chiropractic is formidable. I came across, just as a sidebar, and it was dealing with alternative therapies. And the headline on the study was, or the article was, most chronic patients use alternative therapies, but don't tell their doctors. They keep it secret. And that's interesting. I don't know why they do that. Maybe they think that, and it was published in the American Journal of Managed Care, by the way. The study was done back in 2015. They surveyed more than 6,000 patients in Oregon and Washington who were Kaiser Permanente patients from 2009 to 2011. And they had 3 or more outpatient visits for chronic pain within 18 months. What they discovered in the study, the data revealed that 58% of those patients had used chiropractic care or acupuncture or both, but tended not to disclose it to their conventional or allopathically trained physician. Now, that's interesting that they would adopt that approach. Dr. Charles Elder, who's an MD, said, our study confirms that most of our patients with chronic pain are seeking complementary treatments to supplement the care we provide in primary care setting. Close quote. The problem is, he said, that too often doctors don't ask about this treatment and patients don't volunteer the information either. Close quote. What do you make of that, Dr. Sullivan?
It's a great question. I can't speak as to why a person would not tell their physician what they're doing relative to their health. The only thing I can say is full disclosure is extremely important. In other words, when you go into your physician, your medical doctor, of course, please tell him or her what vitamins you might be taking, what herbs you might be taking. If you're seeing any complementary healthcare providers, such as a chiropractor, acupuncturist, massage, of course, they're going to need that information in assessing whatever complaint you came to them with. So full disclosure is extremely important.
Sure. And they may be reluctant, too. It could be, I'm hypothesizing here, that they don't want to tell their primary care physician because they're afraid they might offend them, or they may think ill of them for using such a therapy. The doctor may shun it and not look positively upon it. You don't know that. In fact, your primary care may be referring out to chiropractors. It happens all the time, right?
Sure, of course. Yeah, full disclosure is the most important thing. So don't be intimidated or shy about communicating with your physician.
Sure,
full disclosure is very important.
Let your physician know. So now, going back to, now we had, you're adjusting the patient, and they have subluxations, they may have disc wear, whatever. And what causes the you adjust them, and everything's back in alignment, and they leave, and when they come back again, it's out of alignment again? Why does that happen?
Doc, that's another great question. I think to answer that comprehensively, it'd be important to recognize what throws the body out of alignment to begin with.
Good.
In my estimation, the number one problem with health is stress. Stress, I really feel, is the number one killer.
Ding, 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 ding.
Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, of course, ultra important to pay attention to. But when you're under proper medical care, those can be managed. When you add stress into the mix, all of those diseases become not just worse, they become deadly. Stress also throws the body out of alignment. First through, I guess its onset is emotional and mental, but then it can, what we call sublimate, turn into a problem within the body. So to answer your question, why does the body become out of alignment? I really feel that it's stress. Now, it's important to recognize there's 3 forms of stress, Doc. Stress is physical, it can be chemical, or emotional. By physical, what I mean is car accidents, poor posture or work responsibilities, sports injuries. That would be physical. Chemical, poor diet, all the processed foods. I mean, even if you're trying to be healthy, you need fruits and vegetables.
What about using certain drugs, both recreational or prescription.
If it's improperly used and not prescribed properly, it can be very stressful on the body. Even eating more naturally, there's herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, rodenticides that can be stressful on the body. So that's physical and chemical stress. The third category is emotional stress, and some researchers say that the emotional stress is upwards of 80% of the stress we experience. Mm-hmm. Okay?
And the stress, and I've explained on the show many times, that stress, we're talking about the stress response is the fight or flight response.
Exactly.
And that comes with, that's part, we natural selection, through evolution, we naturally selected to have that system, and it has served us well, right?
Very well. If I may, it becomes problematic in today's day and age, though. If I can explain, there's basically two forms of stress, Doc. There's stress that is actually quite healthy for us, and there's stress that is unhealthy for us.
And the good stress is called eustress.
Well, unfortunately, the stress we currently experience is not the stress that's so healthy for us. Let me explain further.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll get you a chance to do that. We're headed into some messages. So, as you've listened to my show over the years, you've heard me talk about stress all the time. It's interesting that Dr. Sullivan finds it to be one of the primary factors in causing people, in terms of their central nervous system, for the system to be generally out of alignment, functioning, not functioning well. Yeah? We'll come back. We'll talk some more.
Women who are pregnant or planning to have a child have specific nutritional needs. Maintaining optimal nutritional intake is important for mother and baby. Body Vigor's Preferred Prenatal can help mother and baby receive the appropriate building blocks for growth, development, and healthy function. The Preferred Prenatal formula provides essential vitamins and minerals, along with added support ingredients such as folic acid and DHA. Preferred Prenatal also incorporates a bonus herbal blend to help the mom-to-be with the uncomfortable side effects of pregnancy, like nausea, vomiting, mood swings, and uterine health. Support a healthy pregnancy for you and your baby with Preferred Prenatal, exclusively on Amazon.com.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be doing. Hopefully you're in alignment and not subluxated. And if you don't know what that means, stay tuned. We've been talking about that with Dr. Tom Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan is a practicing chiropractor here in the Tampa Bay area. Of course, the show is coast to coast and global, and there are chiropractors all over the planet. And I'm going to ask him about that, and maybe I wonder if in different countries it's the same way, or they have different ideas about it. But I would be remiss, though, if I didn't mention, as I say, we are syndicated across the United States. And there is a radio station in Atlanta, Georgia, 1160 WCFO News Talk Radio, the talk of the town in Atlanta, Georgia, that we want to welcome them to the network of affiliates for Let's Talk Nutrition. We're so proud to have them part of, or to allow us to come into their neck of the woods and to air our show. And I want to thank Jeff Davis, who's the general manager at 1160 WCFO News Talk Radio, Talk of the Town in Atlanta, Georgia. We appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share what we do around here. It'll be in May, it'll be 13 years. And we have listeners in Atlanta. They call into the show even before they were listening on the internet, and they would call in. So we're delighted that you're airing the show in that neck of the woods.
And we have a little bit of a technological breakthrough. If you have an Amazon Alexa, you can now ask Amazon Alexa to Alexa play Let's Talk Nutrition.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I know Alexa. I talk to Alexa. Alexa's pretty cool, man.
So, yeah, you can ask Alexa, play Let's Talk Nutrition, and she'll play it for you.
Alexa, order me. Alexa, make my appointment with Dr. Sullivan. I'm going to be seeing Dr. Sullivan. I'm going to go in and get adjusted. It's been a while since I've been adjusted. I know that I have some wear and tear in my cervical spine and in my lower back and my lumbar region, some disc wear. Discovered that when they did PET scans on me. We were able to see that. PET scans are pretty revelatory. They will show a blemish on your butt.
Is that come with age, or does that come with training? How does that come about?
Dr. Sullivan answered that. I mean, wear and tear on the spine. I mean, there are athletes right now at the Olympics, I'm sure, that have worn discs and blown discs, right, Dr. Sullivan?
I'm sure.
But to Gary's question,
to answer your question, what brings wear and tear to the spine? It's a great question. And again, I have to go back to the stress response. It's ongoing, low-level, insidious, pervasive stress perceived by the mind, which sublimates, turns into tension within the body, if you will. In other words, stress on the mind, making a long story short, stress on the mind is going to lead to what? Muscular tension. Everyone's felt that. Maybe their shoulders are tight. Their low back becomes tight. Well, if you think about that tension pattern, when it goes on for days and weeks and months and years, maybe one side is tight, one side is weak. It's kind of tugging on that spine, if you will. It's putting undue pressure and stress on the spine. Again, over days and weeks and months and years, it can lead to problems. Muscular imbalances, biomechanical imbalances, pressure and stress on the discs and nerves. When you couple that with our most obvious physical stressor, which is gravity. I mean, we're fighting gravity 24/7 if you think about it, so much that we have to sit down or lie down to escape from its effects. When you combine the effects of gravity with emotional stress, it tends to cause spinal problems when it's ongoing and unrelenting.
So sublimation of stress leads to subluxation of the spine.
In part, absolutely. In part, absolutely.
Do I got that?
Say that 6 times fast.
Yes, and I'll repeat. Sublimation of stress, sublimating it. You know, you repress. You're under stress. You don't realize it. Will put stress on the spine, causing a subluxation, which is the vertebrae get out of alignment. And keeping vertebrae out of alignment, is it true or false, over time can cause wear and tear on the disc?
Absolutely. You know, I had the good pleasure of speaking with a radiologist several weeks ago at a luncheon, and I simply asked him, In your estimation, all the problems that you typically see in looking at observing x-rays, reading x-rays, when you see perfect curves of the spine, as I mentioned previously, when you see perfect curves of the neck, the mid-back and the low back, do you tend to see degeneration? In other words, arthritic changes, problems with the disc, herniations? And he said, no. When you have a good curve, good biomechanics of the spine, you tend not to see the problems of disc herniations, degenerative changes of the joints and bones. So,
what about posture? How much does posture contribute to good spinal health, if you will, spinal column health?
I think that plays a large component in spinal health. Again, a perfect example. If I'm not mistaken, it might literally be a diagnosis. Don't hold me to that, but there is such a thing where even physicians are recognizing what they call text neck. Everybody is walking around. I mean, you see it at the supermarket, the mall. Everybody walks around with their head down looking at their phone. That's a form of poor posture, and that tends to be leading to problems of the neck, sprains and strains and aches and pains and pinched nerves of the neck, cervical spine.
What about bedding? Having the proper bed. How do you know you have the proper bed?
That's a great question. And in general, I speak to patients and I give them a few tips of advice. When sleeping, I simply say this: it's always best to sleep either on your side or your back. When you're on your side, small pillow under your head, a small pillow between your knees. When you're sleeping on your back, small pillow under your neck, obviously, and a pillow between underneath your knees, rather. I recommend you do not sleep on your stomach. That can put a lot of pressure on the neck and the low back. As far as maybe you might be referring to the firmness of the bed. And for me, that's situational. That's patient comfort. The only thing that I'd say you might want to stay away from is the really, really soft mattresses. I recommend a medium to firm is probably the best, offering the most support.
My daughter comes to visit me from time to time and has a nice room for her. And,
sure.
And she has my old bedroom arrangement, suite, whatever you call them.
Sure.
And she said, Dad, these mattresses, it's like sleeping on marble. I like a hard mattress. I do better.
You know, it's funny, I do too. And again, I think that's situational.
Yeah, I do better with a hard mattress.
Yeah, I like it.
I do too. She said, Dad, it's like sleeping. It's like sleeping on concrete or a marble stone. How do you do that?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. I said, I like it. I like it. You're listening to Dr. Tom Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan, as I said, is a practicing chiropractor here in the Tampa Bay area. This is an interesting conversation. He, in his business card, on the inside of it, he has this image of like a stick diagram of a person who's reacting to stress and somebody who has a sort of a creative, focused response to stress. I'll show you this when we come back.
Are your joints feeling out of date and stiff? Is that old sports injury flaring up? Is your body aching from the daily wear and tear at work? Body Vigor's Joint Ready keeps you at the ready for any joint pain that gets out of line. Unfortunately, as we age, joint pain becomes more common. Body Vigor's Joint Ready can help provide relief so you can continue to go about your day. Our formula contains sulfated forms of glucosamine and chondroitin. Studies show that these sulfated forms are more effective than regular glucosamine bound to hydrochloride. Joint Ready promotes a healthy inflammatory response, facilitates cartilage synthesis, and provides additional antioxidants. Keep your joints at the ready with Body Vigor's Joint Ready, exclusively on Amazon.com.
Health question of the day. We're talking with Dr. Tom Sullivan, and since we're talking about chiropractic and the spine, here's the health question. Simple. How many vertebrae are in the spine? 12, 24, or 36? How many vertebrae constitute the spine? 12, 24, or 36? If you have the right answer, you'll win a $25 supplement gift card to Vitamin Discount Center. Here's the number to call.
877-897-8255. 877-897-8255.
And speed dial, get it in, because people, they want to win that 20. We've been giving away that $25 gift card for a long time. How many vertebrae constitute the spine? 12, 24, or 36? Dr. Sullivan, in other cultures, other countries, let's say Europe, for example, chiropractic medicine is practiced, yes?
It is, yes. Internationally, it is growing. In its organized form, chiropractic is growing internationally. Absolutely.
In Europe, are there certain countries that really feature it a lot, or?
I'm not quite sure. I know that in Italy, it's becoming prominent. In several of the European cultures.
Is the United States, has it been a sort of a, how can I put it, a leader in that form of medicine?
Yes. If I may give you a brief history of the art of spinal manipulation for health, it's been around for thousands of years, Doc. If you look at all the ancient cultures, the Romans and the Greeks, the Ottomans, the Polynesians, the Asians, I believe the Scots, they all had forms of spinal manipulation for health. So it's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Now, in its organized form, chiropractic specifically was, a bringing together of all the greatest moves of manipulation under a man called D.D. Palmer, 1895, out in Iowa.
Yep.
So it was officially started as chiropractic, 1895. So the concept, of spinal manipulation for health and wellness has been around for quite some time. So it really is a universal principle.
Didn't he die in an odd way, Palmer?
I'm not familiar with this story. Please enlighten me.
Who was the chiropractor whose son or family member ran him over in the vehicle?
I learn new things each and every day. I'm going to have to look into.
We'll have to look into that. But there was the Palmer School, right?
D.D. Palmer invented chiropractic. His son B.J. Palmer was the developer.
That story, and I think it was his son. There's a story about him being run over. I don't know, maybe Gary can check me on that.
Stranger things have happened. I'm not going to discount that, but I have not heard this story.
Yeah, D.D. Palmer. We'll have to look. Dr. Sullivan's going to be back on. Here's the health question of the day. How many vertebrae constitute the spine? I'll make it easy for you. I'll give you two choices. 12 or 24. Now think about the spine. How many do you think you need to make that spine? 12 or 24 vertebrae? Call this number. Win that $25 supplement gift card. Come on.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255.
You never heard that story, huh?
No, I have yet to hear it.
Now I'm looking it up. You have me looking for it now.
Somebody told me that story.
Maybe go to Snopes.
Yeah.
Typhoid fever. D.D. Palmer died of typhoid fever.
He died of typhoid fever. Okay.
He's D.D. Palmer is the discoverer, as they call him, of chiropractic. B.J. was the developer.
Interesting. My cousin, he's a chiropractor in Indiana.
Oh, awesome.
So he went to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Okay. The cause of D.D. Palmer's death has always been controversial. His son, B.J. Palmer, was tried in court for supposedly deliberately driving into him with his car. See? How did I remember that? The case was thrown out, and the event has been termed a myth by some. He later died possibly from injuries, although the official cause of death was listed as typhoid fever. Needless to say, in a town controlled by chiropractic, a fair trial would be impossible, so the real truth of the matter will likely never be known at this late date. This is from a site Confessions of a Quackbuster.
Well, despite the apparent family quabble, it's a blessing that he left us with such a wonderful healing heart.
How did he get onto it?
How did D.D. Palmer discover chiropractic?
Yeah, how did he get onto it?
It's a great question. From what I understand, he was a man of who wore many hats back in Davenport, Iowa. He was a Scottish-Canadian immigrant to America, from what I understand. And he was, amongst other things, he was into healing. He was in part a magnetic healer in Davenport, Iowa.
All right.
And he had an office and a shingle with office hours. As the story goes, the janitor in his building, he befriended. His name was Lily Harvard. Harvard Lily, I believe. An African-American gentleman who he see cleaning the office, and he got to know him. And he got to realize that he couldn't hear so well, as far as the story goes. And Harvey explained that it happened originally from an accident. After this accident, he had a bump or a lump in either his neck or in his spine. After that accident, also, he had trouble hearing. So Dr. Palmer, with his limited knowledge of maybe some manipulation and magnetic healing and his understanding of anatomy, he simply reasoned, look, if an accident occurred, caused this misalignment of the spine, his health declined. If I simply try to reduce that bump or lump or misalignment, maybe his health will return. So what he did was he performed a very rudimentary manipulation or chiropractic adjustment. There was a pop or a snap, taking pressure off a nerve apparently, and Harvey's health improved.
Was he able to hear?
And thus, apparently chiropractic was started.
We'll talk more about these things with Dr. Sullivan. He'll be back. We're going to invite him back. In the meanwhile, let's go to Patrick. Patrick, what's the answer? You're in Treasure Island, Florida. Pretty nice down there. 12 or 24 vertebrae in the spine? Patrick.
Hello?
Yeah, how many vertebrae, Patrick?
24.
Congratulations, man. You won a $25 supplement gift card to Vitamin Gistown Center. Thank you for tuning in, Patrick. Thank you for participating.
Hey, thank you.
We appreciate it, man. Dr. Sullivan, thank you. I hope you had a good time. We learned a lot. There's much more to learn. I got a million questions to ask you. When you come back, we'll explore. And thank you for coming into studio, too, by the way.
Doc, today was a blessing. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And website anybody can visit you at?
ChiroMindset.com. That's ChiroMindset.com.
Your health is your wealth. See you tomorrow.